everyone. Welcome. I am Ashley Torian, your host of Ashley's Heart Song, and this is the place where we get out of the stress and we get back into our body, our life, and our business. When we tap into the song of our heart, that is when we can live a life of freedom, a life of adventure, a life of inspiration. Today, my guest is going to just enlighten you with so much wonderful stuff, y'all. I am so grateful to have Lisa with us, and we will get to introducing her in just a moment. But as we always do, we've got to start out with our vitality score. Where are we mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually? Are you ready? Get out your pen and your paper. We take down this score so that we can just check in and tune in to what are the areas of our life where we need to pay attention. Where are we flying and where are we being stalled? And so let's start with our physical vitality first. So physically, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you are not doing well physically, 10 being you are rocking it. You feel so good in your physical body. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 on your physical vitality today? 1 to 10. Do you feel in your body? Do you feel walking proud? Do you feel digestively healthy? Do you feel your heart feels strong? Do you feel strong, mobile, flexible? Where are you? 1 to 10. All right, and then next we have got our mental health. So mentally, where are you today? On a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being your thoughts are in the muck puddle. 10 being you are rock solid in your mindset. You are thinking in the growth arena, what's possible arena. You feel spot on clear with your mental processes today. Where are you from 1 to 10? Write down your number. And then emotionally, emotional wellness today. Where are you emotionally? 1 is you are tapped out. You are done. Stick a fork in you. Right? You emotionally, you're just flat. 10, and you're on that roller coaster. 10 is your emotions are balanced. You feel well. You are joyful, happy. You just have this sense of ease in your life. Where are you emotionally today? Write down your number. And then we have our spiritual wellness, spiritual vitality, spiritually from 1 to 10. 1, are you disconnected, lonely, at loss? Or are you a 10? Do you feel connected, fed, nourished, in alignment? Where are you spiritually today? Write down your number. Add those numbers up. Highest score is a 40. If you are 30 to 40, you are rocking it. You're doing well. You are taking care of all 4 of those aspects of yourself. If you're below a 30, then there's some room to work. Where was your lowest score? Work with your lowest score. Don't try to work with all of it. Just work with one of them, the one that calls out to you. And just pay attention to that area of you this week. Nourish it. Pay attention, see where your thoughts are going, see where you are physically. What do you need emotionally? What do you need spiritually? And do it. You just do it, y'all. The only way things get done is if we just do it. If you turn off the noise of the mind, trying to reason all the reasons why you should or shouldn't, turn that off and we just go into action. That is what is needed. That's what's necessary for you to live vibrantly free in a body that you love. All right. So that is the score. Just take it for what it is. No judgment, no criticism, and just simply work with it. And we will take your score again next time we air live. We will do another one and we will see where you are there as well. Okay, y'all. Lately, we have been looking at the sacred metabolizers. And the sacred metabolizers are those states of being, states of operation that elevate our biology. What I mean by that is when you are in the state of operation of faith, when you are living by faith, because faith is an action, we feel it, but it's acting as well. It's acting in that faith. Trust is the same way. Commitment, compassion, all of those sacred metabolizers. Not only do we feel it, but there's an action to it, a belief to it. When we are in that, we become the biological equivalent of the resonance of that word. So all of those words have a certain frequency, a vibration to them, so to speak. When you are living inside of love, courage, commitment, compassion, faith, forgiveness, surrender, truth, gratitude, joy, peace, there are several others, but those are the main ones. When we live inside of those, as those, that is when we become the biological equivalent. So why is that important? It's important because it helps us metabolize our life with ease and grace. You begin mobilizing fat for energy, you're holding on to lean tissue. Your digestive system is spot on, perfect. You digest and assimilate with ease. It's beautiful. So that's the power of the sacred metabolizers, and so much more, as you've learned in the past episodes. And today, our guest, Lisa Mosbey, has been working in the realm of these sacred metabolizers with her work with essential oils and much more, much more. I'm going to read her little bio so that you can get an idea of where and why I am sharing Lisa with you today. Lisa is an herbalist, a wellness practitioner, holistic living expert, and after 40 years as an entrepreneur, she is honored to coach wellness business owners to expand their brand and increase engagement using social media. So she also works in that arena. Lisa Mosbey is a holistic living expert, herbalist, and virtual wellness coach. In addition to coaching on wellness, she is a digital solutions advisor to wellness business owners. When you're ready to expand your brand on social media, talk to Lisa. Tune into her podcast, Living with Favor, where she delves into the 5 foundational pillars that have shaped her 40-year entrepreneurial journey. They are faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships. Each episode of Lisa's show is a treasure trove of insights drawing from her rich tapestry of experiences to inspire and guide listeners towards a life of fulfillment and success. When you're ready to educate your social media or elevate your social media presence and expand your brand, you need to talk with Lisa. So we are going to talk to Lisa right now. So Lisa, let me bring you onto the platform with me. Here we are. You should be transferring now. Nope. Hold on. I don't know what happened. Bear with us, y'all. Oh, I did ask you permission. I don't know why I did that. You want me to remove it? Let me do it again. All right, here we go. Here you are, Lisa.
Perfect.
Yes, welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you. That was a heck of an introduction. That was a little bit long. I apologize, but it kind of sounds like a eulogy sometimes when you send those biographies out. It's like, trim it down, 1 sentence. Yeah, just get the girl on here talking.
Isn't that the truth? But we also got to give, that flavor. So
I know.
flavor of the person coming on. So
Yeah, sometimes I hear the introduction of myself and I go, gosh, I kind of want to talk to her, So the bar is high sometimes for yourself when you send those bios out. But thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm really excited about talking about these sacred metabolizers. That is new terminology for me. I know I live that and I use that, but that's new terminology. I haven't been trained in those words, that dialogue, that language. So I'm excited to toss this back and forth and have a little ping pong match here comparing our different pillars.
yeah, that will be fun to do. That will be fun. Yeah, and I would love to know, as the audience, I'm sure, just talk about these 5 pillars, your favor. Yeah.
For sure. as you mentioned, 40 years in business, there's some things that kind of float to the top. The cream rises to the top. And those were the ones for me that as I reflected, I started writing a book because, you should, when you get older, when you get that big 50, you're in that 50 range. They send you a badge in the mail that says you now officially have wisdom and you should write a book. So I'm kind of indulging in that. I don't know that I'll ever publish it, but it was more of a memoir for me to look back and say, where was I when I started? What kinds of things did I do in my life that has brought me to today? And those 5 are really the consistency. Faith has always been there because things don't always work out. And so whether it's faith in a higher power, with if you believe in God or not, you have faith. You go through business as an entrepreneur with a tremendous amount of faith. You believe in your product, you believe in the message that you're sharing, you believe in the people that you surround yourself with, and you believe that what you have to offer, what you bring to the table, is going to serve your clients at the highest level possible. So faith filters through everything that we do in business. But the abundance part, many people think when I speak of abundance, I'm talking about money, but actually abundance for me is more of a mental, emotional connection. It's, when I'm full and I have an abundance, I can jump over to overflow and flow into and give to other people. So when I have an abundance, when I'm taken care of, when my cup is full, I can share and I can show up and be fully present with people, which also brings in vitality. What does your health look like? It's really tough to be an entrepreneur, run a business, manage a home, take care of kids, family, and all the other things if your vitality, your energy is drainage. If you just don't have what it takes to maintain the schedule, it starts to really bring us down. It starts to lower our energy. And then the last one is relationships. Nothing gets done without conversation. We have to communicate with our spouse. We have to communicate with our children. We have to communicate with our employees, our employer, our business associates, our boss, our customers. It's all about communication. So if I could have thrown them all together and made a mishmash of them, I don't know what other word I would have used. So I had to use an acronym because it really, for me, it breaks it down into those 5 areas beautifully.
Yeah. And the word favor itself
Yeah,
has such power to it.
it does.
Yes. So did that also play a role for you? The word favor, the meaning? So it made up the acronym beautifully.
Yeah.
However, is there a deeper meaning behind that for you?
For sure, because for me, living with favor just means that you're kind of an anointed one, that, you're given, whether it's a blessing or a challenge, when you live a life of favor, everything that is put upon you is to serve you and to use to serve others. And so that's kind of how I perceive that word favor, that, it doesn't mean that life is perfect and then all things are good all the time. Far from it. I've had my challenges just like everybody else has had their challenges, but it's part of the mindset on what do you do with that? What do you do when you have the loss of a loved one? What do you do when your business is failing? What do you do when you're, on the teetering on the edge of bankruptcy because the market crashed? All of those are things that I've experienced in my life. And still, I consider my life to be one of favor because I was given tools. For me, it's the Holy Bible. I was given a tool, a manual that I can use to actually get me through all of those challenges in life. Iron sharpens iron. We don't grow if we stay in our comfort zone. So life is meant to be lived outside of the comfort zone. We can retreat, we can go back, we can reset, renew ourselves, but we have to get outside of our comfort zones. We have to face those fears. We have to face the challenges in order to have that personal growth. And for me, I believe that that is why we're here. It's to become better human beings, to be better, the best that we can be. And we need to have that iron sharpens iron to do that, to step out and do that.
And I love, Lisa, that you just went to how life isn't perfect and how there are those difficult times. And many people are experiencing difficult times right now, whether it is in the workforce or whether it is health or relationships, any area of life, we can really be in the muck puddle sometimes. And then it's about what you had said. It's like you have this manual and you just take action. You go to the manual, you get the instructions, and you just keep going. right? We don't quit. There's a stillness aspect to it, which I'm hearing from you. There's that stillness. It's diving deep into your manual and getting in stillness and hearing whatever inspiration you need, inspired message you need. But then it's about getting outside your comfort zone and going ahead and taking action anyway. Whereas
For
I
sure.
think that's the paralyzing fear for a lot of people. Do you find that as well? That it's
I
the
do. And not just for others, but for me, that was, there are times where I went in to myself because of that fear, and learning to look at that fear, look that fear in the face. And I know people like to say, feel the fear and do it anyway. I like to address the fear and maybe not feel the fear, but it's like, acknowledge that it's there and say, I can actually take this in, or I don't have to. And here's how I'm going to frame that is, who is the voice that is determining your self-worth, your ability to go and do things, your level of success? Who is the voice? Is it the voice of friends? Is it the voice of families, coworkers, bosses, other people? Or is it the voice inside of your head? And what is that voice saying to you? Where does that fear come from? We don't have to feel the fear. We can acknowledge that fear and say, what is the truth here? Is this true? Are these facts that I'm looking at basing this fear feeling on? And oftentimes it's not. It's stories that we've told ourselves, or it's peer pressure, it's outside sources that have caused this to come into us. And so, how do we acknowledge that fear and still be able to achieve all that we want to, and have the impact on other people's lives the way that we want to? Because I've never met a human being who doesn't want to serve other people. Somehow, everybody that I meet in business, I want to make the world a better place. I really love people. I want to help them. Like, that's an underpinning, an underlying message that I get from so many entrepreneurs that I work with. I don't know if I know of anyone who doesn't use some form of that when they describe what they want to do and how they want to serve. And fear stops us from doing that.
Yes, it does. Here's a biggie.
Yeah.
There is that fear that can live inside, and then the fear that'll show up. And I love the way that you were just talking about it, about we don't have to feel it. It's a choice if we want to feel it. And if our pattern shows that we feel it, then more than likely we're going to feel it, right? But if we can stop it, and like you said, just ask for truth.
Yeah.
What is the truth here? And who is speaking, right? Who is this
Sure.
coming from? The external world or my internal world? And am I in alignment if it's coming from my internal world?
Yeah.
I love that, Lisa. That was beautiful. That was so beautiful. So you say that love is the answer. And I know, here it is right there on the chest. So let's go into that, because as you were just speaking, fear and love, they're the opposite of each other, right? If we're not in love, then that means we're living in fear. And so let's talk about how love is the answer and your philosophy behind that.
Yeah. Uh, it doesn't really, to me, it doesn't matter what's going on in your life. If you can look at that. Now, somebody's yelling and screaming at you in the grocery store because you grabbed the last ketchup bottle, whatever it is. It can be something as, silly as that. Obviously, they needed that ketchup bottle more than I needed that ketchup bottle. How do we look at people who are enraged, who are experiencing something, some emotion that is out of character, that is like uh, not befitting of the situation, and looking at them from a place of love? We can acknowledge, and we don't have to get sucked into that. And so when I say love is always the answer, is like, somebody's honking at you, it's like, oh, I wave, when people honk at me. I have kids in the car from time to time, and they go, people honk at you a lot. And it was like, are you trying to say I'm a bad driver? Or I just know a lot of people, because I always wave when they honk. um, it's kind of what is your perspective of things? Like, if you come from a place of all things are working for our good, and everything serves us, no matter if it's good or bad, it's a learning opportunity. It's a chance for us to have that growth when we're challenged or when we're confronted with things. How do we look at that from a place of love? How do we come from the heart and not the head when we're working through the challenges of our life? And I believe that if we can be quiet and be calm first. Get into the heart space, get into the love space before we advance. The outcome will be much different than if we are confrontational. If we, put on the ego, which just edges God out, that's what it stands for, edge God out. When we put on the ego and we go into fighting position in any situation, there's always going to be a winner and a loser. And when you play from love, it can be win-win. Doesn't mean you have to lose just because you can come from love. It gives us a chance to ask the question, it really sounds like you're struggling with something. I'm happy to listen. What's going on with you? Rather than even answering somebody's question or responding to somebody else's negativity, just diffuse it. It's like, I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to get in the ring with you. How can you come from a place of love? Because I believe that's what can diffuse situations.
That is so beautiful. I love that so much. As you're speaking, a situation that I was personally in
Tell me.
last week came up. And I have this new little puppy, and she challenges me. And I fully believe she is my best teacher right now on staying in peace, right? Because that is what I want, is the resonance of peace within me all the time. That is my goal for every day. She challenges that so much. So I was taking her to the vet to get her allergy shot. And there is a lady up there that I have just recently met, one of the techs or somebody and that works there. And she came out and said something to me about a situation with Luna that we're working with right now as well. And I had already talked with the vet about it. And Luna, I had already let Luna in. Her behavior was already in me. My peace was gone. And I felt this. And I just kind of interrupted that girl and said, I know this. I've already talked with the vet about it. What I need to know is this today. And I just clarified. And she said, okay, she handled me so beautifully. She knew Luna had stolen my peace. She left. Well, I just thought about that, thought, okay, that just does not feel good at all. She came out and I said, look, I owe you an apology. She goes, what? And I said, I owe you an apology. I was just really rude. I didn't give you a moment. I just snapped at you, and that was not nice. And I am really sorry. And she goes, oh, well, it's okay. It's no big deal. I go, it is a big deal. It is. And I am really sorry. I think she was so flabbergasted that someone extended an apology about snapping, because I'm sure working in that office, they probably get people snapping at them all the time.
Yeah.
Right. And so I find that so beautiful about love is the answer, because it truly is, even when we've done wrong, right? I did her a wrong. And because of the practice of love is the answer, or of saying in the sacred metabolizers, I was able to see what I did that quickly and was able to apologize instead of leaving and going, oh, I really should have apologized. I really should have, that was really wrong of me, whatever it was. Because used to, it probably would have been 24 hours later when it finally dawned on me I needed to pay her an apology. You know what I mean?
And then what would have been happening in your state during that period of time? Because when we have that, it's like that self-talk inside of our head going, ooh, you were bad, you were unkind, or, and now, is that who you are? Is that how you really want to show up in the world? Like that, that negative self-talk starts to, weasel its way into our psyche, into our brain, into who we are and how we show up in the world. And if we don't apologize, it gives us permission to do it again. That's just my opinion, but it can snowball on us. So it's like, we gotta grab that, nip it in the bud and say, hey, wait a minute, that's not how I want to show up. So kudos to you for pausing and saying, hi, I'm sorry. There's nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry, unless you do it all the time for everything. Every other word out of your mouth is I'm sorry. Maybe lacks some sincerity and some authenticity, but bravo that you paid respect to her. And my observation there is she comes from a place of love. Like you're probably right. She does see people who are struggling and challenged with their pets on a day-to-day basis. And it's easy for her to not take it personally. It's like, I love what I do. I love the animals I serve. And you know what? I'm going to help you with that. We got this. We'll take control over it. And it didn't come into her. And when it doesn't come into you, you know that you're grounded in that unconditional love space.
Yes. Yes. Amen. Yeah. It was really beautiful of her. On the way out the door, I looked her square in the eye. I said, thank you for forgiving me. I am so grateful. that you released me, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. So I love this conversation with you, Lisa, so much. It is so powerful to really help the listeners understand that, yeah, this is the theme of the life, is to live as love is the answer, or to live in favor. However, we are human beings. We are human and we mess up. We're messy little beings sometimes, but it is about seeing it and getting right back on it and going back to home, going to home. Yeah, I love it. You say also talk about gratitude and how gratitude has really created it's a mainstay for you and this life of gratitude. So is there anything you wanted to share around that?
Yeah, when you were talking about that, the three words that came to me were grace, gratitude, and mercy. You know, who are we to one pass judgment on anybody else? I learned at a really young age that everybody has something. You know, I was probably 7 or 8 years old when my dad had us doing, we were in karate, we were little kids. Now I'm, closer to 60 than I am to 50. And so being in karate back then, in those days, there were not a lot of kids that were in karate, but my dad had all three of us kids in karate. And I think we were, 8, 9 years old, 9, 7, and 6, or 8, 5, and 4, something of that nature. And the person that ran our karate studio, the dojo, his son had muscular dystrophy. So as children, we were at the Minnesota State Fair, and we were doing exhibitions, we were doing forms, we were sparring with each other. And when I was younger, I used to think I was a dancing monkey because I could break boards with my feet and break boards with my hands. And I'm not that, I was a kid. But people, we had this huge fishbowl. I could fit in the fishbowl, and people would put money in there and make donations. And what I realized from a really young age is that everybody has something. Here's this little boy, he was either in leg restraints or he was in a wheelchair sometimes, as we knew him over the years. When we know that everybody has something, it's a whole lot easier to give them grace, right? We can be grateful for who they are. If they may be struggling, we don't have to take it personally. And so the way that grace and mercy show up for me is consider what it is that they're going through. I don't have to take that personally. We don't know the kind of physical pain, the emotional pain, the trauma that they've gone through, and everyone has. Everyone has some sort of challenge that they've had to face in their life. And those challenges are going to continue to challenge us if we don't work through them. And they're going to show up in unexpected ways. They may cause us to lose our temper, or they may cause us to be disengaged, or they may cause us to be more of an introvert and quiet because we can't cope with the situation. We have no idea how these things are going to show up. So if we can live our life in gratitude, be grateful for their presence, be grateful for who they are, if we can give them grace and understanding and compassion and mercy, it makes life so much easier, to walk this path. When we get into judgment and, labels and, you know, when we look at the world as if it is hard all the time, rather than looking through those eyes or through that looking glass of love and compassion, it makes our life more difficult. Imagine just for a minute something that's recently happened to you, a challenge that has come up. If you were to right now take out that looking glass, I usually have a magnifying glass. I think it's over on the other side. Take that magnifying glass and look through that magnifying glass at that situation and intentionally say, if I looked at that through eyes of love, what might have I noticed? What might have I learned by looking at it from that respect rather than that knee-jerk reaction? We react rather than respond to situations. Rather than reacting, what would I have done differently? When I ask you that, does something come to mind for you, Ashley? The dog was the one that kind of came to mind. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
big time. Yeah, that one. And I'm sure that there's many others, but that is like the one that is most present, is the one about Luna.
So the
Yeah.
grace and mercy kind of fit in with that. For me, gratitude, when we are grateful for what we have, we get more.
Yeah.
And so if every day we're grateful, I'm grateful for the sun shining today. I'm grateful that I have a roof over my head. I'm grateful that I was able to make lunch for my mom today, and every day for the last couple of years. She's been with me, at full-time care. I could get low. I could get angry about those kinds of things. Oh, I don't want her to go. I don't want her to struggle. I don't want her to face these challenges. I have no idea why that's her life's journey right now, but I can support her and be grateful that I have the time, that I've been provided for, that I can care for her, that I have the space, that we can live together and cohabitate and have fun and laugh, and we can make every day the best day that we can make it. How do you want to look at it? Do you want to have a pity party, feel sorry for, blame somebody, blame God, or do you want to say thank you? And what can you say thankful for? Be thankful for.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to have fun in your life, or do you want to be in the pig pen all of your life? Right? We have that choice.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. In the fun department is the grace, the gratitude, the mercy. The pig pen is a lot of fear.
And judgment. Yeah.
Judgment. Yeah, and judgment for sure, for sure. Well, let's move into the essential oils. You have a sacred um oils journey for people, is that right?
I do. Yeah, just for fun. For this month, I decided. So, my primary role right now is really as a social media coach for wellness people who are in the wellness field. I was in that business for a really long time. My holistic health practitioner, taught classes, saw folks one to one using herb supplements and grandma's remedies is what I like to call them. And I can't totally let go of that. So once a week, I do a wellness workshop every Saturday morning. I've been doing that for about 4 years. And I also keep my hand in, the essential oils. I used to teach essential oils for infants and children in a hospital in Wisconsin. And I've been in that world, that arena for a really long time. I would do plant walks and just show people what plants to harvest and how to make your own medicine. I did a year-long plant medicine class in the garden, in a community garden back in Wisconsin. I'm in Orlando area right now. So this year, for from Thanksgiving through the new year, I wanted to come up with something else. So I did some stuff on gratitude. I did a 4-week series on gratitude for the month of November, and then jumping into December, I partnered with a couple of other people to do essential oils of the Bible, herbs and oils of the Bible. So ancient oils of the Bible is what I called it. And I have an e-course that I put together for folks. I also have a little ebook well, it's not little, it's 20 some pages. It has 120 different uses, modern day uses of the essential oils of the Bible, and just talks about how, the Bible was not it's not a medical text, but yet it talks about everyday life, about the plants and how they were provided for us, and the herbs and the oils, how they were used as our food and our medicine. And so just bringing that forward at this time during the holiday season, it's the reason for the season. So I thought, oh, this is a great way to bring in health, to bring in wellness, to bring in scripture, the mind, the body, and just share some information with folks who might be curious.
I love that. I love that. So is that going to be available? Like if we post the replay, is there going to be a link available to where people can sign up to receive
For
that
sure.
info?
Yeah. If you just go to my website, lisamosby.com, it's all the way at the bottom right now. So it's down there. You can click on that herbs and oils. Everything that I do is on there. I do a Facebook Lives on Thursdays talking about herbs for wellness. That class is on there. So there's a few different ways to tap into that. I don't see folks one-to-one anymore, but there's a vast knowledge in there. And I love talking about plant remedies and herbs and oils and supplements. So it gives me an opportunity to put that out there, and it's all free. It's all on my website. It's an access point to the information that I've learned, and I've tried to make it simple and available for folks. So they can get that all from lisamosby.com.
Great. And that's LISA, M as in man, OSB, B as in boy, EY.com.
Yeah.
LisaMosby.com.
Yeah.
Yes. Great. Thank you, Lisa.
My
Love that.
pleasure.
All right. So is there any last thing that you would love to speak about? Let me look at our timing. Um, there is a thing on surrender on here. What does surrender have to do with faith? And we spoke about surrender on the show in a previous, and faith. Both of those are sacred metabolizers, and we spoke about them on previous shows. But I would love to just kind of do a little, just see what your thoughts are on that surrender
Yeah.
and faith. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, when you think of surrender, it's just kind of, you're bowing down, you're surrendering to things. And we can surrender to our boss, we can surrender to our children. When our children are struggling, it's just like, you give them the power to speak to you. You surrender to that. Shut your pie hole, put your hands over your mouth and be quiet. Just surrender it, because it opens up communication. It opens up conversation. When we start to surrender to what, for me, it's always a higher power. It's always God. When I surrendered to God's will for my life, I don't have to be in charge. I don't have to have all the answers, and life actually gets a little bit easier. And so when we look at areas in our life that we're struggling, I would challenge you to say, why am I struggling with this? And how do I surrender to that? How do I look at that through the eyes of love, and how do I surrender to it so I can move through it and not stay stuck? When we move through things, we can always look back. Hindsight's 2020. So, but we got to get through it in order to have hindsight. So sometimes, rather than creating the resistance and fighting our way through things, what if we just surrender? Your boss is really being hard on you, and throwing a lot of work on you, and it's the holidays, you want to be with your family. How would you surrender that? Knuckle down, put your head down, get it done, get through it. On the other side of that, oftentimes there might be a promotion, there may be a reward, there may be an increased salary, there may be a great review. We don't know what's on the other side of challenges. So rather than fight and resist with those challenges, sometimes if we simply surrender, now not if you're in danger or that kind of thing, but how I mean surrender is like to just not fight back, but be obedient to what is on your plate at the moment, surrender and move through it so you can see why this was a blessing and not a burden.
That was beautiful words of wisdom.
Thank you. I would love to. I know I get to interview you, so I'm okay to receive the questions, but we get to continue this conversation on my podcast at some point in the near future. But just out of curiosity, can you shed some light on this conversation of the things that I've shared? Bring in that sacred metabolism for some of these words that we've been talking about.
Yeah. So
Please.
on surrender and the faith, I love to speak on the surrender aspect of it as the open palm, right?
Yeah.
We are open palm, we're open bodied when we surrender, right? We can't surrender when we're like this.
Yeah.
Surrender, it's totally open bodied. And that right there, I think, is the most difficult action for people, because we are gripping and so tight. So when we're looking at surrendering a belief that has been holding us hostage, surrendering an eating issue, right? When that eating issue, a food has been blocking us, or a way that we're eating is blocking us. When we surrender and open up to it, and we can actually physically open ourselves first, because when we go through the body with the action, that is when it gives the opening for the chemistry, for the frequency to unfold and unfurl within us. And when that happens, then we have full digestive power around that food, around the belief, to be able to digest it and process it through ourselves. But until we can do that physically, we're closed off to it emotionally, right? And so it's permission to open up physically, and then the emotions can just come, and we do an emotional resolution process where we can emotionally resolve that block, and that helps, and that surrenders even so much more than that. So it's beautiful because it's physical and emotional, in order to get that biology just
Yeah.
going through, elevating everything within you, so your cells are just dancing in surrender. And I think surrender is probably one of the most challenging sacred metabolizers there is, because we're such control freaks on planet Earth, right?
Yeah.
We grip.
Just
And
let go. Yeah. It's just like, let go.
let go, but what? A human being let go?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we know the world of what this is, whatever we're holding on to. We know that world. We don't know the world of surrender. What does that world look like? If I'm totally let it go, what would that look like for me? Do I know how to behave? do I know who I am inside of that? I mean, it's huge.
There's a book that comes to mind when you were saying that. It's called Illusions by Richard Bach, and in there they're talking about it's what do you call it? Not a fairy tale, but there's another word that for it. But one of the things they talk about is think about all the little creatures in the stream. You know, they find their little home and they're holding on like crazy, whether it's a snail or a shell or something, right? He's holding on, the water's flowing and pummeling and beating against him. And all they have to do is surrender and float graciously down the river, and the whole world opens up. Like eventually you get to the ocean and you'll see nothing greater than that. And that visual that book has created, that's part of what I think of when I think it's time to surrender. It's time to get to the ocean. Like stop staying here and being beat against the rocks, in the rapids, where you're just being pummeled with everything that's going on. It's like surrender and let it go. Maybe this isn't my place. Maybe this isn't my home right here in this space. Maybe there's something greater.
Oh, that is beautiful. Illusion.
Illusions with an S by Richard Bach. I used to buy boxes of them and give them away to people. And then I think I have 6 or 8 left. Patient Heal Thyself was my latest one that I was giving away to folks.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. All right, I'm making my notes. Lisa, thank you for joining us. We are gonna end the live broadcast in just a moment and go to our live audience to have a Q&A. But for those of you who are watching, whether you have found us live or you're watching the replay, we are so grateful that you are here with us on this beautiful conversation. And much love and a big O hug. I will see you next Monday or every Monday at 3 p.m. Central Time. And I look forward to seeing you again on the Win Win Women TV network. All right, everybody, have a great evening.